Two Mads chatting about restorative dentistry. This is Paul, Dr. Nacho Goodman, and I'm so excited to have the awesome Dr. Amanda Seay with me, who's going to be chatting about the Rising Stars Forum in Chicago. She is a fantastic dentist. I followed her on Instagram. I love what she does. I don't know if you know our language, Amanda, but MAD stands for Medium Age Dentist, because both of us graduated in 2002. There was no way for us to connect back then. There was no Facebook. Amanda, if you want to send a text, it was like a 2-minute project to say, meet me at the library. So back then we wouldn't have known each other. And NYU and Penn may as well have been like universes apart. We only kind of knew it was there, but now through the power of social media, we're connecting. So I really appreciate you being on here with me, Dr. Amanda. What I asked to start is, tell us where you are now in your dental journey. You know, people are just popping on. I know you have, I was looking at your Instagram account this morning, which was just fantastic. Well, let's say they're meeting you for the first time. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I practice in Charleston, South Carolina, and I have a private practice that I started from scratch in 2004. And I really was a solo practitioner for most of it until COVID happened. And then I actually grew my team and
Awesome.
actually tripled my team during COVID. So now I practice with 2 other wonderful, amazing doctors, which is kind of neat how we came to be working with one another. I think all the stars just aligned. So I have 2 locations right now.
Awesome.
Plan on growing more. I think we're good at 2. Everybody's built differently, and I realize.
Amanda, I've heard parents say that when they had kids, like, we're done, and then I show up like they got more kids. I don't know.
No, I can guarantee you, I'm done. No,
you might have more practices later. I love what you shared there. One of the things we do is Dentist Job Connect, which helps bond dentists together. And I have a fantastic friend in Philadelphia, Dr. Todd Fleischman, amazing dentist, loves Coyce, loves Spear. And I kindly annoyed him to get an associate like back in 2018. And he's like, I don't want to do it, Paul. I don't want to do it. And he did when he said, I should have done this sooner. So tell us a little bit. Being a solo practice owner can be awesome, but it's also can be aggravating when you're the only licensed dentist on site. What are some of the benefits of working with other dentists and not just alone out there?
I mean, the selfish benefits, there's a lot of benefits that help my growth, but the selfish benefits I would say is that it gives me flexibility. It gives me the time that I have 4 children, and we're in the phase of life where they're teens. One's going off to college this weekend. There are times when I want to be able to take this trip or do something with them. And when I was a solo practitioner, it's very difficult to do that. So having other doctors.
Tell us, I have 2 things I want to share. I'm very good friends with Dr. Mark Costas, and my kid's a little younger. So I'm a giver, Amanda. Okay. So I have a 4-year-old. So if you miss your oldest, I will ship my 4-year-old down there if you would like to hang with her. No charge. So if you really miss having a child in your house, but Mark Costas, tell me about why. I think what people who are not practice owners don't realize, and I have my answer to this. Why was it hard to do those things as solo practitioner? What were the things? Was it guilt? Was it economics? Was it your team? Like, why do you feel that you couldn't do that as a solo practitioner?
That's really interesting that you say that, because in the beginning, it was guilt that I couldn't close, and because I thought financially it would impact my team members that needed to get paid, needed to work, patients need to be seen. And through the years, throughout my journey, having different consultants and then getting to a place where a consultant, it really helped me see my deserve level in a way and just say, it's okay for you to take the day off. Like, life will go on and you just have to plan differently. And when I did that, my production really didn't change. Patients worked around my schedule and it was fine. But I mean, this took me 10, 15 years into my career before I got to a place where I could said, okay, I can do this. And then not long after that, I got associates and everything else.
But really, what you're sharing, you shared 2 great things there. And I said, it's really the team. So when you're a solo practitioner, and it's not a judgment, but oftentimes the dentist could go without a day of dental income, but you have this team that's counting on you. They're working with you, and you really feel bad saying, so that has really been a struggle for solo practice. Oh, I don't want to work on Thursdays anymore. Well, what's your team going to do? And that is, I think it's more about mindset for the practitioner. Do you wish you had de-soloified earlier in your career? Do you wish if you go back in stop time, would you say, I wish I did this a few years earlier?
I do, but I think that I wasn't at a place that I would know how to work collaboratively with somebody effectively, because I was still really figuring out my systems and efficiencies in my own practice. So I think I'm just at a great place where it's taken me that long to get there. But by all means, like you said, I love the term mad. I didn't know that was a thing, but before, we have access to so many things at our fingertips. So I think these younger dentists coming out can be more business savvy, have all these resources at their hands to be able to, have a trajectory that's faster the way I went through it.
Well, I have sponsors, and this is not a sponsor, but I feel like that is your aha moment. I drink a lot of aha, and I'm hoping aha sponsors me. So if I do this enough, maybe someone can share an aha, because Amanda, what you shared there and what I love talking about is you authentically shared, you probably treated yourself nicer as a parent than a practice owner. And I want to explain that. I'm sure you and your family got babysitters occasionally for your children so you could go out to dinner. I do that. But for some reason, you needed a coach to be like, hey, Amanda, it's okay for you not to be here all the time. Tell me about, you're welcome to say who that coach was. But it's really poignant to me and sad that dentists think they should know all the answers themselves. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with Dr. Lincoln Harris. He's one of my friends and he runs Ripe in Australia. Amazing guy. And his aha moment was, I wish I got a coach sooner in my career. I wish I paid for coaching. Tell us about this coach and that experience that kind of told you about the deserve level.
I've had two different coaches, and the first one was amazing. She was a private coach that banded together with other consultants, and I've learned systems from her. I've learned efficiency from her. And then we got to a place where we grew, we plateaued. And then I hired Bill Blatchford, and it was great, and when I say Bill really for me was more of a personal coach, because this man is 70 something years old. He travels the world. He loves his family. He's with them. And he talks about things where it is just personal coaching for me, a lifestyle that I will build first and design, and then I figure out how.
I love that from Bill. Bill's been on our Seay platform. I respect him so much. He's like an ageless wonder, right? He's in 70. But I think what he does is, I was early on in this world of the social media dental stuff. I was on a podcast and I said something that the podcast host said. I said, the morale of the person prepping your crown should matter. So the morale of the person holding that handpiece going around, sometimes no one really cares about us. We care about our team, our assistants, our patients, but none of that happens unless our morale is at a place where it's healthy for us. And what I think, I'm so glad you're sharing this, and it's happened to me too. We can share this. It can happen to you younger. You don't have to wait 15 years into your career, 20 years in career, and get a Bill Blatchford, who's someone who looks outside of your box. Because you have children, I have children, mine are younger. If I tell my 8-year-old, can you eat those vegetables? She goes, no, Dad, I don't want to. But if my sister, who's her aunt, walks by and says, eat your vegetables, I say, okay, no problem. So when you get these coaches outside of your core box, they see things that you don't see. Would you agree?
Absolutely, 100%. You have to be coachable too, though. I will say that, there's people that ask me, like, who's your consultant? And hiring the same consultant is not, the secret sauce. It's being coachable. I mean, you have to work, you have to implement what you learn, and you have to believe it. It's not just money that you pay and this person's going to wave a magic wand and your practice will change.
I think that's so key. I was just talking with another amazing dentist last night who said, if you have to fly across the country to go to Seay all the time, that's not practical for all of your CE. So maybe look for a place local and then sometimes fly out to Seattle and see John Coyce, right? So it's the same with coaching. Look to develop relationships that are practical for you. The best coach for Amanda or Paul may not be the one that's practical for you. So I love that advice for our audience. So now that we've got into mindset, I want to go in more into the dentistry stuff, what people like. You have this phenomenal dental ability. And I wanted to ask you, we graduated in 2002. Now go back to 2002, Amanda, with a flip phone, right? No Facebook. And you said, I graduated from NYU and I want to get better. What are some things that you done along your journey that you would do again, and maybe some things that you wouldn't do again?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I have no regrets about is that, I came out of school like most people, tons of debt. And I invested in my CE right away. I took out loans and I went through, at the time, Pankey. I always went to AACD, and the return on that and the growth development just continued. And I see it a lot. Sometimes young dentists ask me and they're like, oh, I don't have money. I'm going to wait. In the next couple of years, I'll do it. And the thing is that you really have to plan right from the beginning. And that money is not going to go to waste. I can promise you that. And when you learn something, you realize what you don't know, which is almost like this addiction of, okay, now I got to learn more. So I was fortunate enough to invest in myself for the education early on. And so I had that thirst every time I went to say, okay, what's next? I have to learn more. What's next? So that
I
was,
love you sharing that. As medium-aged dentists, sometimes I think people look at us, but I share this with dental students, and it's tough. You just went to a $500,000 CE course that didn't really prepare you. You might have to spend another 15 grand learning the stuff that matters. And I know it's not fair, and I know it's tough, but whether it's through, I'm not a financial advisor here saying go into credit card debt, but figure out a way to invest in your career, because it pays you back. I was talking with Dr. Gary DeWood last night, amazing conversation, tag Gary, please. And he said, people say to him all the time, should I go to Spear? Should I go to Coy? Should I go to Spanky? And he said, a lot of the truth out there is very similar. Just go to a place, right? I was on my podcast with my dental focused attorney, and these DSOs, Amanda, are giving these ridiculously dangerous partnership contracts to young associates. And he's like, listen, you don't have to use me as your attorney, but please use an attorney before you sign that you're going to be a partner in this DSO for 20%. So what you're sharing is, whether it's COIS, which is great, or Spear or AACD, basically just do something early in your career, because it's been transformative for you.
Yes, 100%. And not just take it, because I see some people that take a bunch of CE, but they don't go back and actually implement it. And that's a waste of time too. Like you can't learn and grow. You got to take what you learn, you come back and you implement it. And steady wins the race. I mean,
I love that. It's the building blocks of stuff.
Yeah,
What's interesting to me, Amanda, is sometimes CE can be demoralizing, because a young dentist will go, should I take a course on sinus lifts overseas? I go, you don't know how to extract a tooth. How about if you go do that, you're going to be demoralized when you come back. So do the one that makes sense for you. Treatment planning, foundation restorative stuff,
It's like dentists ask me all the time, like, where can I take a course on veneers? Because I want to do veneers. Like, well, let's go back to occlusion. Like, we got to know that before we can put veneers on everybody.
But this one, Amanda, I don't know if this is a good skill, but I was talking about this with Gary. How about getting the patient to trust you to do a filling? That might be helpful, right? Because these amazingly awesome dentists, they may have clinical talented skills, but if you're 28 years old and try to talk to a 60-year-old about doing 10 veneers, it's not going to go well, right? So work on these building blocks and develop trust through doing a good crown, restoring one implant. And then as you develop patient relationships, because I think dental school really misses the mark in not talking about how important communication is, which is what I absolutely love about John Coyce, because he just infuses that into everything that he does.
I know. Yeah, that man's incredible for sure.
So what I'd like to talk about now is, you're on here, you're putting together an amazing program. What's interesting about me is I'm sort of this Facebook guy. I got the 60,000 people through all my platforms, but I love in-person, face-to-face stuff. I love when people get on a plane, get on a train, go in their car and hang out together. I call it JHO, just hang out. So you guys are creating the Seattle Study Club for the Rising Stars Forum. I love the concept. Tell us more about the why here. Tell us some of the details. I know we have a discount code my team's going to put in the chat, but I would love to hear about this amazing program.
Yeah. Well, I think you and I love the in-person, again, because we're the mad dentists, because we didn't have YouTube or Instagram or anything. That's the only way we did our CE. But we're at this place, like this Digilog place, right? Where people, some like the digital platform, some people still like to go in person and do all this stuff. So the whole premise of Rising Stars is that Seattle Study Club, Michael Cohen has built an amazing culture for 30 years now. And our annual symposium is just this hot ticket item every year that people love to go to. It's longer. Usually more seasoned veterans go to it because it's higher priced, so we really wanted to find a way to get access to younger clinicians, make it affordable, but also let them experience just how wonderful Seattle Study Club is, the treatment planning sessions, the workshops, the planning and business management strategies, and the ability to network with other people. So that's the thing that I think is unique about Seattle Study Club, is that you take all these other CE courses and you learn occlusion, or you learn about composite or this or that. But at Seattle Study Club, it's CE that's different. Your treatment planning, sitting side by side, knee to knee with an orthodontist, other general dentists, and saying, well, here's how I would do it, or here's how she would do it. And you debate about the pros and the cons and all the different ways that we can treat patients. And I just think that's invaluable especially for the younger clinician.
And what I want to add in, we didn't have a choice, and I love online learning, and I created and you created, but it's not a substitute for this. It's not a substitute from learning at the gym, standing next to someone, learning at the happy hour. Really, being a dentist, it's like being a new mom where your practice never grows up, right? You got a child in college now, but these practices, they operate, I always say, like 4-year-olds. Like sometimes they're awesome, sometimes they're frustrating, all the time exhausting. That's why I say, sometimes I'll be on the streets of Philly with my 4-year-old on my shoulders, and I'll see this older couple, Amanda, and they go, that is the best time of your life. Cherish that, young dad. I go, well, I'm not that young, but I said, cherish that, young dad. That is the best time of your life. And I go, oh, thank you. How old are your kids? They go, 40. And I go, do you wish they were 4 again? They go, God, no. I go, that's such a weird way to describe the best time of your life. And I say that jokingly because as practice owners, our practices operate like 4-year-olds. They can be frustrating. They can be exciting. And when you sit at the Seattle Study Club, the risingstarsforum.com, you get to literally sit next to you and say, oh yeah, that happened to me 10 times. My hygienist just quit one day, right? I had a whole patient and they didn't come in. And then you bond like these new exhausted moms forever and say, okay, I don't feel so alone. I mean, if someone asks me, what am I doing with Dental Nachos? I say it's trying to make dentists feel less alone, feel less isolated, right? So going to this, so they're going to get all of that. I looked at the lineup. I know Brian Baliwas is there. Who are some of the other speakers at this event?
Oh my gosh, we have Jerry Sheesh, we have Tal Moore, Bob Margis, Sam Bukhari, Dr. Nada Albatish from Canada. She's wonderful. Let's see, Sylvia La Rosa, and then some business people that are world renowned too. So it's just really cool. And there are, I say it's geared towards younger clinicians, but what's neat is that we're going to have a mix of ages there. So you're going to have some seasoned veterans sharing their, experiences and mistakes and things that they wish they would have done differently too. And to be able to share, of course, great food and entertainment is always
I love
fun.
that. One thing I've kind of become known as someone who, supports young dentists, which I do, but I'll kindly annoy young dentists. So we had a D4 from Penn who's going to work with us. And I go, are you going to do like a GPR AGD? And he goes, a lot of people tell me you don't have to do one. I go, who are those people? They go, my other kids. I go, well, they don't know anything either. Right? I go, sometimes my 8-year-old thinks they all should eat candy for dinner because that's what our other 8-year-old thinks. I say it in a kind of way, but when you're in this mix of the ages and stages, you can get some reference points from people who've been there. And then older dentists can learn from younger dentists. What the technology that younger dentists have at their fingertips is massively awesome, but I would be massively overwhelmed. When we were new dentists, we weren't thinking about scanners and guided implants and things like that. So that in and of itself can be a really overwhelming experience, but you can teach them as well. So it sounds like you guys have an amazing lineup of all the, awesome dental people sharing. It's going to be clinical and business, or is it just clinical?
No, clinical and business. So we're in business from practice strategies to finances. So we're really stoked about this. It's going to be great.
I like that. No, I always ask people to share and they think it's over, but I always have like a spicy or at least something fun at the end. But before we get to the end, I want you to share a couple things. I just want to make sure I'm getting the details right. So it's September 16th, 17th in Chicago. That's correct, right?
Correct.
People can go to risingstarsforum.com.
Yes.
They also can get a discount code from us by texting rising to 215-543-6454. My team will put that in the chat. Anything else I missed on the details of this awesome experience, Dr. Amanda?
It's going to be a small, intimate crowd, and we did that by design. You know, we didn't want this huge convention meeting. We really wanted to be able to have sessions where we could sit at round tables and have these conversations and dive deep with one another. So it is small. We only have a few spots left. So hopefully those people can join us, but we're really looking forward to it. I think that by the time you leave this weekend in Chicago, being the size that it is, we'll have a good sense of, making new friends.
I love that. That's such a Nacho vision. Now, people want to see the awesome Amanda's stuff. What is the best place for them to follow you?
Oh gosh, thanks. Well, you can purchase my photography book if you like on Amazon. Yep. I also teach hands-on aesthetic curriculum here in Charleston with my partner, Dr. Adamo Naterantonio, and you can go to Impress Courses. It's 1S, IMPRES courses.com to see our course selections.
Awesome. And this morning I was getting my coffee. I just want to make sure your Instagram is at Dr. Seay, right?
Yes, at Dr. C.
Mm-hmm. See, sorry if I was mispronouncing. So DOC2, and it's DOCTORSEAY, right?
Got it.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Perfect. Now, my end thing is this, right? Whether people just pop by, you talked about the deserve level for you as a practice owner, right? And I love that.
Yeah.
That's Dr. Aaron Elliott, who is awesome and does a lot with sleep apnea. When we were early in this stage, I said, talk to a younger dentist about why they should take the time, money, and energy to do this. He said, you know what? When I was a young mom, I needed the break, and probably my family needed the break from me. And I wish I could go back and do more of this earlier in my career, because when you are just newly married or single, or even sometimes when you have just one child, it's a lot easier to extract yourself, dental term, from your home, right? You can just extract yourself and say, see you. So talk to somebody out there who's a few years out and why they should take this time, why they deserve it to go to Chicago, and what they'll get out of it.
Because you're going to be a better clinician for it. When you take that time to invest in yourself personally, it just makes a world of a difference. It's like you hear people say all the time, I need to spend more time on the business of dentistry and not just on the dentistry. Right. Well, you need to spend more time on yourself, right? And this is a different type of CE. You're not going to go out here and learn occlusion. You're here to learn how you can be better as a clinician, whether you're a practice owner, an associate, and how you rationalize that, how you think from clinical to business to team philosophies. So it's a very well-rounded curriculum and forum. I hope they take that time,
I love that. I'm going to add this into it, which is phenomenal. I talk about life is about FIPS, friends in your phone, and who you can text or call when there's problems. So when the pandemic hit and I had a big event, Mark Costas and I were texting about how stressed we were, right? And it was so valuable to me that I could just bring up Mark Costas and text him and he can text me. When you go to these events, you leave with FIPS, you leave with Dr. Amanda Cell. And these are things you just make your life better, that you can text Dr. Todd Fleischman, you can track Dr. Brian Baliwalas, and that's why we do these things. So love what you share, Dr. Amanda. It's going to be an awesome event. You guys want to reach out to us for any reason, just reach out to us at dentalnachos.com. Thanks, Amanda.
Bye.